while Republicans all say we're not going to do anything about Social Security and Medicare and Medicaid and we're not going to touch it, is that actually the best course of action? I'm here to tell you it is not. I know no politician wants to touch Social Security. It's like a lightning rod when it comes to politics. But do you know that we have a $20 trillion deficit when it comes to Social Security? That's $156,000 per household in America. Now, the Congressional Budget Office just came out with a report, and it said without action, not doing away with it. No Republican wants to do away with Social Security. In fact, every Republican wants to save it and wants to save it responsibly. The question is, does anyone have the you-know-what to make the move to save it? But if we don't make the move, it's going to be gone. Without action, we'll see benefit cuts of 23% by 2033, okay? By anyone 56 years or younger, I'm 54 years old, by the way, will not reach 67 years old before the program runs out of money. Remember, Social Security started at 2%. Payroll tax, then it went to 6%. It's now at 12.4%. If you want to save it, okay, 17.3%. If you don't want to do anything to the program, that's how much you'd have to tax people. 17.3%. That's not a deal I'm willing to go down. This is Kevin McCarthy, Cut One, talking about Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security.
Cuts to Medicare and Social Security, they are off the table. Defaulting on our debt is not an option. But neither is a future of higher taxes, higher interest rates, and an economy that doesn't work for working Americans.
Look, I get where Kevin McCarthy's coming. So far, he's done a good job, and I'm giving him leeway. But I'm here to tell him that if nothing is done, it's gone. And someone who knows all too well about this is President Trump's former economic advisor. Heck, he still is advising President Trump. He's a great friend of mine, distinguished fellow of economics at the Heritage Foundation. I'm talking about Stephen Moore. Stephen, welcome to the program.
Hi, Grant. Great to be with you.
You and I were talking this morning on the radio. What can we do to save it?
Well, you only described half the problem, Grant, because you're right. The unfunded liability, that is the amount that they're supposed to pay out versus how much they're supposed to bring in over the next 50 years or so, is $20 trillion. But what you didn't say is that you've got to add Medicare to that, because remember, they said we're not going to cut Medicare either. Well, that has another approximate $20 trillion unfunded liability. So both of those programs are going bankrupt. I liken them to the Titanic that's headed right to an iceberg, right? And for the captain of the ship to say we're not going to turn it around, as Biden said, and many Republicans are saying, is highly irresponsible. So you got to do something about these programs. And for the politicians to sit, by the way, we're having an adult conversation right now about this, right? Nobody in Washington talk about it. It's like the ghost in the room that nobody wants to acknowledge is there. But for young people, it's very simple. If the politicians are telling you they're not going to do anything to fix Social Security, Medicare, then guess what? Social Security, Medicare will be bankrupt. You'll be paying in your whole life into the system, and you'll get no benefits. That doesn't sound like a very good.
It amazes me how no one wants to talk about this. You know, you and I have talked. I ran for Congress 10 years ago, 2011 for the 2012 election, in a primary against a Republican incumbent. I lost. Maybe one of the reasons I lost is because I was crowing about Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, that it was going to be bust and we had to do something about it. That was 10 years ago. Still nobody does anything. You and I talked, and I just read on the Heritage Foundation, where you are as well, that if we had every young person start paying into a private 401k, mandate that they get a choice, either Social Security or this private fund, they would do far better than they would in the Social Security system. Is that correct?
Yeah, Social Security is the worst ripoff for young people ever. They're going to be paying, somewhere. By the way, you mentioned the 12% payroll tax for Social Security. Don't forget, there's another 3% add-on payroll tax for Medicare. So you're actually paying, you and your employer are paying 15% of every dollar of your paycheck, up to about $130,000. So and by the way, Brad, did you know the payroll tax for most Americans pay more in payroll taxes than they do in income taxes? So it's a huge burden. And you're right, for young people, if the government had allowed me to do this, I'm a little older than you are, I'm 63. If they had allowed me to take 10% of my paycheck every pay period from the time I was 25 years old to today, I'd be retiring with benefits 2 to 3 times higher, because the stock market, the Dow Jones was 1,000, now it's 33,000. So, there's no compounding interest with Social Security. Now that you got to do that with Social Security to let people have an option to get out. But on Medicare, we just have to do something to slow down. You don't have to cut the benefits, Grant. You just have to use find ways to cut the costs of the healthcare system. We pay more than any other country for healthcare. Now we have very good quality healthcare, but everybody knows you could find waste in the healthcare system, and that would drive down these costs.